Nation, what's up? Hope you all are doing awesome right now. It's New Year's Eve, so it's time to party. And I think I'm going to drink a lot of bourbon tonight. A reasonable amount. Maybe I should specify that. I'm definitely not a fan of over-imbibing, but it's New Year's Eve, you have a little more than usual. Lots of stuff actually to talk about tonight. So chat's going to be soups important for sure. So just a couple ground rules as we get started. If you've got a question and you want to make sure that I see it, please at me, at Drew P. Whiskey. That way I can be sure I see your question. You guys know if you've been on my live chats before, I just dig talking with you guys. So the back and forth is really important to me. So at me, that would be swell. And then the agenda. So we are going to bottle pop Old Forester barrel strength single barrel. So these things just recently started hitting shelves, and they're not everywhere yet. They're making the rounds, and if you haven't gotten one yet, please don't pay secondary price. Don't do it. Just wait. It'll make it. You'll have the chance to get one before too long, I'm sure. So gonna pop that. We're also gonna talk about just like today, news broke that some craft distilleries were going to get smashed with $14,000 fees for producing hand sanitizer during the COVID, when there was no hand sanitizer. So we're going to talk about that too, because that sucks. But I've been reading updates throughout the day. So if you haven't heard about it, I'll review that with you and then share the latest. Also going to talk a little bit about a forthcoming trip I have to Kentucky, and we'll do a little 2020 review and get into 2021. And hopefully you guys have got lots of stuff on the horizon for you, stuff that hopefully sparks joy and inspires the soul. I feel like that's important right now as we look forward to a new year. But in short, I would just say 2020, as tough as it was, just try not to look past it. It was a year that's certainly going to impact us all pretty dramatically. But I think that we can take a lot from it if we'll look for those kind of things. Lone Wanderer, it's BS that they volunteered to make sanitizer and the feds decided to label them as pharmaceutical companies. The federal government has a pretty spotty track record in terms of exercising wisdom. I'm not libertarian, but there are times I want to be. And again, we'll talk about that, but I need to get some bourbon in me. Dry so far tonight. And because it's New Year's Eve, I think it's appropriate to just actually say, surprise, we're going double on the bottle pops tonight. So I'm going to get us kicked off with bottle pop number 1. This is I have to get this lined up. Make sure you can see it. This is the sort of classic Old Forester single barrel. The 90 proof ones that they started releasing 3 years ago. And this is kind of all we had for a while. So this one is from Steve's Wine and Spirits out of Madison, Wisconsin. And Steve's, if you're ever going through Madison there, I think there's 3 different Steve's locations. And they're all boss. I mean, they do it right over there at Steve's for sure. So it's a place I like to stop whenever I'm in Madison. Tobin asks, any bottles you plan on hunting in 2021? Yes, and we'll talk about that in my plans for 2021, which actually relates to the craft distillery news that kind of sucks so bad. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. So if I don't answer that question well, just hit me with it again a little bit later on. Fred says, going to bottle pop my Weller Antique. Dude, nice job. That is a great New Year's Eve bottle pop if you've been hanging on to one of those. What else are you guys drinking tonight? What are you popping? Because it's New Year's Eve. I mean, it's like Christmas. You got to go big, right? If anybody's out there drinking Evan Williams bottled and bond, no judgment. But if you have something better on the shelf, go get that other bottle. Go get it right now. You can drink Evan Williams bottled and bond any other night. All right. So, surprise number 1, bottle pop, classic Old Forester single barrel. All right, here we go. Wow, that had decibelage. on it. Like we're rocking and rolling. Bananas Foster right away, like banana pudding with vanilla wafers on the nose. I just get it wafting out of the bottle. Wafting's a good word. I've had a few people reach out about these glasses. I mean, many of you probably know kind of what these are. This is one I actually got from Willet, but these glasses are called Neat tasting glasses. And I'm actually probably going to make some Keep It Neat because it makes sense. You got to put Keep It Neat on a neat taster glass. Like that's a win, win, win. A win because of the channel, a win because of the neat taster, and then it's just dope. So how many wins can we fit in one glass? At least 3. So many bananas. Like I can't even describe it. It's like a green banana. Like you pop open a banana before it's fully ripe. That's what I'm getting up in this. I'll talk more about it as we go. We're not going to rush tonight. You know, normally I shoot for hour 15, hour 30 on these things. We'll go as long as we want to go. Okay. Couple other things here as we get rolling. Oh, yeah. The shirts finally came in. So some of you guys have pre-ordered shirts, and there's actually a link in the video description below. But if you're looking to support the channel, there's 2 ways you can do that. First way is you can buy one of these dank Keep It Neat shirts. So I had done a test of one that I wore in a video a few videos ago, like 3 weeks ago, and then I put in an order for these shirts and put up the pre-order. The physical shirts are now in. I sent out the first batch of orders today, which was not a lot of fun getting those packaged up, but I was so thrilled to get them to you guys. So those should be arriving sometime in the next week. Probably not going to make it very far tomorrow, being that it's New Year's Day. But you can just click the link in the video description below, the Keep It Neat shirt one, and I will get those out to you in relatively short order. Now let's taste this sucker. I like these Old Forester 90 proof single barrels. They got a lot of heat to them for a 90 proof, which, well, I won't get into the barrel strength single barrels yet, but they're not exactly a mellow 90 proofer. A lot of flavor, like oak shows up. It tastes pretty well aged because of that oak presence. It probably comes from a couple of things, which we'll get into. Sorry, I gotta tease a lot of stuff because I don't want to steal away from the Cask strength bottle pop. But being that this is a Brown-Forman product, remember Old Forester is underneath the Brown-Forman family of distilleries, which includes Woodford Reserve and Jack Daniel's. And what you see across all 3 of those distilleries, likely related to whatever distillation methods or maybe yeast strains that they use, is that the banana note shows up a lot. Like it's hard to miss when you're looking for it in some of these products. Tastes like bananas, which is not bad, just depending on whether you like bananas or not. But as far as whiskey goes, a banana note can be quite nice, especially if it's accompanied by sweetness and oak. Because then you kind of get this desserty Bananas Foster, banana pudding amalgamation, which is not bad. It's not bad. And this is not bad. Kind of like the banana pudding definitely comes through in the palate. But I get some kind of perfumey, floral, gin. Kind of harsh on the finish, actually, this one. Is it tastes young. Like the oak is there, but then it finishes young. Kind of like hairspray. Dave with the super chat. Happy New Year, Drew. I also did 2 bottle pops tonight. What a boss. Stag Jr. Batch 15. That's supposed to be real good. And Booker's Pigskin, which is also supposed to be real good. Very pleased with both. Cheers, buddy. Cheers to you. Thanks for the super chat. I mentioned the t-shirts, one way you can support the channel. Another way is if you want to drop a super chat, just go down to the bottom of that little chat window, click that $sign. I'll make sure that I read every single comment that comes through on a super chat, and just know that all the money that would come in through shirt sales or through super chats, I'm just putting right back into the channel right now. Like I've been working on my AV Still got to get a good mic set up. This works pretty well. But working on the lighting, which you notice the lighting is a little bit different tonight. I went a little more moody, a little more romantic, you know. Hopefully you guys like that. Trying to light my good side. And then I'm also working on some projects, which we'll talk a little bit about, but I can't really, excuse me. Dang COVID. It's not COVID. But I can't get into too much detail on some of the projects I'm working on, but 2021 should be rad for new content through the Droopy Whiskey channel and maybe some collaborations, but we'll get into that stuff here in just a little bit. So reminder, if you want to hit me with any questions, just at me at Droopy Whiskey, and then I will definitely make sure to hit anything that has a super chat dollars on it. All right, let's see if I can pull anything else out of this Old Forester. No, I cannot. All right, if you're joining, thanks, y'all. We got 70 people on the chat so far. I appreciate that. If you're a fan of the channel, please don't hesitate to just smash that like button right now. That'll help actually get the video out in front of more eyes, which is definitely a win. I appreciate that. And I dropped a video on Monday that I was actually really looking forward to recording that one and was stoked to get it out. It was about bottled and bond whiskeys, which I had seen a lot of videos on YouTube that are about, like, what does a whiskey have to be bottled and bond? And I certainly cover that, but in the video I really went deep into the why behind bottled and bond. Like, what's the historical reason that this came about? Like, what does it solve? Why did it get passed? And does it make a difference? Now, do we need bottled and bond? And as I mentioned, it was super fun to record. What's interesting in producing some of these videos is some of the ones I'm most jacked about actually don't get as much exposure, so you may have missed it. Like, it has to do, I'm sure, with YouTube algorithm or some whatever. Maybe it just wasn't as good. That's for you guys to judge. But definitely check that one out. It was, as I said, lots of fun, and for history geeks, it's got a lot of history in it. And then last piece of news before we talk about Kentucky later. I want to show you guys something. Wait for it. Okay, so I just dropped the Keep It Neat shirt. You just saw that. The whiskey. Yeah. All right. Sort of inspired by that Bottled and Bond shirt, I've got a design that I think I'm going to put on a shirt here in the next few weeks. Let me show you guys. Come on, work for me. There we go. All right. So you can screenshot that if you want. I'll throw it up here one more time. So one of the things I really wanted to do with the channel is create some dope swag. Like, for Whiskey Geeks, there's a lot of stuff out there that has like channel names on it, and I could just do shirts and Glen Cairns and stuff that says Droopy Whiskey, but I'm really, really passionate about swag. My day job is Stone Creek Coffee, and some of my favorite stuff to do is create products that people will love. Of course, create coffee products, but also create supplemental products that help them celebrate their love for their coffee. And for Whiskey Geeks, like, we just love the snot out of whiskey, bourbon specifically. And so I want to help create stuff that helps people celebrate that. I think it'll be pretty rad way to spend some time. And if you guys have any ideas or anything you'd like to see me bring to life, definitely don't hesitate to reach out. I think getting feedback from peeps is one of the best ways to get better. And certainly when it comes to the show or swag, like, the more feedback you guys can give me, the better. Like, I appreciate constructive criticism a lot. I don't really appreciate trolls at all. So people just out crapping on somebody else's like hard work, that's just not cool. But constructive criticism is something completely different, and it's really about the spirit of how it's delivered. We'll talk more about that when we do some 2020 review here in a little bit. Will Henderson says Happy New Year with the super chat. Will, thanks, man. Happy New Year to you too. Tommy D had added me. Hey, get the hair gel rolling, and it's radical. Just saying. Get the hair gel rolling, and it's radical. I don't know if that is what you're doing tonight or what you're telling me to do. Or, I mean, I'm a big hair gel fan. I actually use a pomade. So gel is a little too crispy, and it actually doesn't control the frizz in my hair because I got some pretty frizzy hair. Lucas Banner said, mine has an ETA of January 5 through 8. Your t-shirt? Okay, sweet. I think the post office is catching up post-Christmas, so hopefully it doesn't take you too long. Brian says, Drew P, do you find that first pours of many bottles aren't good? I've noticed that subsequent pours, especially of higher proof whiskeys, are much better. Brian, I actually find more variation just night to night based on what I ate that day, like what's been on my palate. And sort of the, expectation brings reality. So if you expect that first pour to taste not so good, it might taste not so good. That said, I do also find that a whiskey does change slightly when it's exposed to air. So if I just leave this out for a while, I'm probably going to pick up some different notes than if I just had it straight out of the bottle. If you're like, first pours aren't so good, just set it in a cup and spin it around and set it in a glass for 20 minutes. And that's going to be actually a lot of air exposure relative to what it's had. And that little bit of oxidation might help, remove some of the harshness you're finding out of your first pour. It's a big debate. It's a massive debate. And I kind of went back and forth with the bourbon junkies about this. Science tells us that nothing substantial changes in the whiskey. Palates tell us again and again and again that, well, something changes. And I can't say. I know that when I taste a whiskey, it tastes different almost every single time. I kind of get new things from it. It's a new experience. But it depends on a lot of different variables. Your mood, again, what you tasted that day, your energy level, temperature of the fluid. So whether it's, a few degrees cooler, a few degrees warmer in your house, lots can impact your perception of the whiskey. Magoo 15 Hundo says, Happy New Year to your channel. Great content. Magoo, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Sorry, squad. I'm looking at my streaming software, and sometimes the questions are a little bit behind on that. So if I get a little behind, I apologize. Okay. One more time on this old Fort. Well, I poured myself too much of it before we popped the cask strength. So now I've got to just drag this thing out. Getting a little smoky char on that one, actually. Like, slightly crisp ends of a steak. Not bad. That harshness that I was getting, I mean, I had just taken a drink of water, which probably diluted that last sip a little bit, but that harshness kind of went away. That sort of hairspray finish. Yeah, it's the middle of the road. It's fine. Like, tasting this, it's nothing I would lose my mind over, but it's one that's kind of nice to have around. If you're ever going to put a bourbon on ice, which I will actually do that sometimes over the summer, like just sitting on the back porch with like 2 cubes and 2 cubes in a 2-finger pour, just, it's a little more refreshing. Does it ruin the whiskey? No, it doesn't. Does it change it? Absolutely it does. So I wouldn't do it with a total banger, like a Four Roses limited edition. I'm probably not going to put on ice, but Old Forester standard 90 proof single barrel? Yeah, I might put that on ice a little bit. All right, I'm going to set this one aside, and now we can get to the show. Well, at least the main part of the show. So, Old Forester barrel strength single barrel. And this one, there have been 3, I think, released in Wisconsin so far. and I had the Woodman's pick out of Madison, and then I have behind me the Avenue Hawthorne pick here in Milwaukee, but I tasted that one already. And so this is the third one, Otto's, which is the Milwaukee area, their pick. And, well, we'll talk about what the others tasted like in a minute, but a little background on this product is, Old Forester started their single barrel program with the 90 proof selection. And over time, we started to learn a little bit more about it. Like the program is overseen by Jackie Zykin, who's their master taster. And the barrels have been pretty good. Like, I've had a couple Old Forester 90 proof barrel picks that I've been like, dang, this is good. Good value. You can find them for the $40 to $45 range. But definitely a little more tame and youthful than a product like 1920 Prohibition style, which has been their closest thing to cask strength to date. That's at 115 proof. And it tastes more youthful than Statesman, which is, I think that's 95 proof. That they made that for the second Kingsman movie, the one where they dealt with Americans or they collaborated with Americans. I don't know. But that Statesman release, I'm a big fan of. I'm also a big fan of the 1920. But in podcasts, Jackie and then Chris, it's either Morris or Morrison, their master distiller. His name's probably on here somewhere. Anyway, yeah, it's not on here. They've made reference to the fact that what's going in the single barrel picks is likely a little bit younger than some of the barrels that are getting dumped in 1920 and Statesman. It actually seems like some older barrels get in those products, whereas the average age of the single barrels is like 4 to 6 years. Now, don't quote me on that, but that's what I've heard. They tend to be the younger barrels. That doesn't mean it's going to be bad necessarily. And I think Old Forester kind of gets away with it because some of their younger products are going to appear more aged than a lot of other distilleries. And there's two reasons for that. One is they heat cycle in their warehouses. So their warehouses are hot all the time, which should speed up the aging process. A lot of warehouses in Kentucky, it gets hot, it gets cold, and that cold season, quote unquote, forces the whiskey out of the barrels or out of the staves. But what it may also do is just like halt the aging during the frozen months. So Old Forester, by keeping their warehouses heated, they should, in theory, speed up the aging. Second thing they do is they char the snot out of their barrels. A number 5 char, which does not have definition. Like a number 5 for somebody may be comparable to a number 3 for somebody else, but it also may not. Like, again, don't quote me, sorry, but I'm pretty sure that Brown-Forman has their own cooperage. I'm 95% sure of that. And so they can do whatever the heck they want and call it whatever the heck they want. But general wisdom is that Old Forester uses really, really, really charred barrels, which should also impart a lot of char and oak influence into the whiskey in a relatively short time period. So you could get a 6-year-old barrel that tastes like a 10-year-old barrel or a 12-year-old barrel relative to somebody else, compared to somebody else. This is very reminiscent, this 90 proof Old Forester pick, of Woodford Reserve. I think I could have it side by side and I'd be like, it's the same dang thing. Sorry about that. That was a slip of the tongue. Anyway, so Woodford Reserve is, that's your classic bourbon profile. Like that, it's just bourbon. And with a little banana. And this Old Forester 90 proof pick tastes very, very similar to that. All right. Now, with that background, let's get to this Old Forester single barrel strength pop. 2 quick things, actually. First, Patrick says, Happy New Year. My local store hides allocated whiskey from time to time, and today I found Stag Jr. behind some champagne. Wow. That's actually a pretty cool way of doing it, is just throw some whiskey on the shelf behind some champagne. It's pretty dope. So congrats, man, and thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. Jonah Levy says, anybody ever say you look like a young Michael Keaton? Only on this channel. Maybe you commented on another video, Jonah, but somebody else did on my channel. Nobody in life in general has told me that. Maybe it's the black shirt and the curly hair. So I went back actually and I looked at some pictures of Michael Keaton from his Batman days. And yeah, I sort of see it. He was clean shaven, and if I shaved, I would look probably 10 years younger than I do right now. So probably not going to shave because I don't want to look like I'm 20. Not that that's a bad thing. But I think it's good for a dude to look slightly older. Just feels more distinguished. But I think another thing about the whole Michael Keaton deal is he tends to slur his speech a little bit naturally, and I tend to do that as well. We don't enunciate with a high level of clarity. Here we go. Not bad. Not quite as solid as that 90 proof bottle pop, but it's just such a cool sound. And you can never replicate it. I mean, after you popped it once, it doesn't pop the same way. Fred's got to drop. He's got to do New Year's stuff. So, Fred, have a good night, man. Appreciate that. Whiskey Sour says, greetings and salutations from deep South Texas. Like, where's South Texas? I'm from Texas originally. South Texas is like a lifetime from North Central Texas, where I'm from, though. It's like you can drive 12 hours and still be in Texas if you go from one spot to another. All right, here we go. All right, so a little bit of history experience with these Old Forester single barrel picks. The first one I had, the Woodman's pick out of Madison. Crazy hot. Like so hot. Like fire. And not a lot of flavor, actually. It was a little bit bitter. You get a little banana, a little oak, but just really crazy hot. And I'm like, man, everybody has been asking for like barrel strength Old Forester products, and they haven't had them, even birthday bourbon, their special release, not barrel strength. Prohibition style, 1920, not barrel strength. Close at 115, but not getting there. Now we see barrel strength Old Forester means it's going to be close to 130 proof. We're talking about 127 in the case of this one. And it's not really like mellowed out by a long time in a barrel. It has oak character, oak influence, either through that number 5 char or the heat cycling. But it seems like time in a barrel hasn't given the Old Forester cask strength or barrel strength products as much time to like mellow out. That was my impression on the first one. The second one I had a lot more flavor. Still hot. That would be this one, the Avenue/Hawthorne pick out of Milwaukee. This one had some licorice, some red hots, spicy cinnamon candy. Was sweeter. Really enjoyed this one actually. Still really hot. I didn't add water, and I should have when I tried it. But I look forward to getting to that barrel bottle eventually. This one I have not had. This is the Otto's pick out of Milwaukee. So let's clean this palate off a little bit. Stuart 5150 says North Texas representing. Not Stuart, Stu Rat. Stu Rat, where are you from, man? I'm from Wichita Falls originally. Which, if any of you have been to Wichita Falls, Texas, little history about Drew Pond. Wichita Falls, Texas is where I grew up. Moved there to that area when I was in 4th grade. And then I got married there, graduated college there, then moved up to Wisconsin. And it's so hot. It gets crazy cold here in Milwaukee in the winter. Like, we've had polar vortex problems, where it's like 22 below zero and 45 below wind chills, which is unbelievably cold, like Mars level cold. Like you walk outside and your nipples freeze off. It's like that of icy cold. But it's that level of balls hot in Wichita Falls. And, the downside is like Milwaukee, everybody, like the city's engineered for the cold. They're ready for it. And you can do stuff when of course, it doesn't stay that 45 degrees cold. It stays pretty cold though. But there's things around you can do, and you learn to live with it. In Wichita Falls, there's not much to do, actually. It's like we would go, like growing up in high school, like I don't have hardcore high school stories. For one reason, I was homeschooled. Second reason is I lived in Wichita Falls. Like what you did was you went to Starbucks. Or you would walk the mall. And this was in the days of internet. Like there was like nothing to do and no trouble to get in. So if you want stories from me growing up, I don't have any good ones really. Yeah, I'm trying to think of something, but I got nothing. Stu Rat says drink and shoot crap. That's Texas. Yeah, kind of that. Well, and also you would literally shoot stuff. So I grew up hunting. That is what we did. Even in the summertime, we would go out and we would hunt wild pigs. Which wild pigs are the most ugly looking things I have ever seen. Like they are just unattractive. And to think of that we actually ate that it's a little startling. Like if I have health problems now, it's probably because I ate wild pigs that I shot and cleaned myself. So a little hardcore, but we're trying to invent fun. Scott M says, what's a decent price for Blanton's? Out on the shelf for $129 seems too high for me. Yes, it's too high for everybody. Don't pay $129 for Blanton's. Don't pay $100 for Blanton's. The most I would pay for Blanton's is probably $80. MSRP on it's still only $60. It's probably only a $60 whiskey. I would pay $20 more than that because I don't see it for less than $100. And it's kind of cool to have because it's a pretty bottle. And I would like to complete the set one day, but I'm kind of giving up on it. I've drunk 2 bottles of Blanton's in my life, and I have 1 left. I've not paid more than $70 for a bottle. But I mentioned on my last live stream, if you guys want a pretty rad Blanton's substitute that you can get for $50, go get John J. Bowman Single Barrel. So that's Buffalo Trace distilled. I think it's aged in West Virginia, and it's really good. Should get it for $50 or $60. Just do like a Google search of where they might have it around you. But even a lot of the places that sell whiskey and ship it have Bowman for a reasonable price. It's not really jacked up. You should be able to order it online for like $60. You're welcome, by the way. One thing you could do is if you have a empty Blanton's bottle, just order Bowman or get like a Buffalo Trace store pick and just put it in your Blanton's bottle. And then when you have guests come over, you can tell them it's Blanton's and they wouldn't know the difference. That's mean and conniving, but it's also funny. Okay. So Old Forester, you guys probably want to know what this tastes like, but I'm also trying to be conversational. It's kind of interesting that's like, hey, I'm a live stream. I'm going to sit here and talk about whiskey for an hour and a half. And I'm not going to stop talking. I'll read your questions, but that's the biggest break I get. It's a little bit tough. Lone Wanderer says, my local store charges $60 for Blanton's. It's good, but not legendary. I wouldn't pay more than that. Jonah Levy says, what do you think of Old Ezra 7 101? Oh, so that's the original Old Ezra. So, yeah, you can pick that one up for $25. It's a pretty good deal. The Old Ezra Barrel Proof is good. It's pretty nutty, though. Like, it's kind of crazy nutty. So, it's a Heaven Hill sourced product. Like, it's owned by Lux Row Distillers in Bardstown, just down the road from Heaven Hill. And Lux Row, for the longest time, just sourced whiskey from Heaven Hill and some Jim Beam, and then they bottled it and sold it. That's what they did. And eventually Heaven Hill said, like, sorry, we can't sell you much anymore. And so Lux Row's like, fine, I guess we're going to have to start distilling ourselves. So they did, like, 2 years ago, maybe 3. So their whiskey's not old enough, really, to bottle and sell in these higher-end products. So whenever you see Rebel Yell 10 or Old Ezra 7 cask strength, those are Heaven Hill products, likely. Or maybe a blend of Heaven Hill and just a tiny bit of Jim Beam, from what I understand. So it seems like the profile on Old Ezra Cask Strength 7 is like the nuttiest of Jim Beam. Because some of the Henry McKenna barrels I've had that I haven't liked as much have been pretty nutty, and there definitely is some nutty notes in even something like Elijah Craig, but it's very, very tempered by kind of sweet oak and almond candy, stuff like that. Whereas in the Lux Row products like Old Ezra, that nut is really pronounced. If you dig it, great, no problem. I know a lot of people really love it. I'm okay with it, but I'd rather have Elijah Craig barrel proof. Remember to breathe. Whiskey Friend says, Drew, I'm in the UK and just picked up a bottle of Garrison Brothers Balmeria. Is that like Garneria? That doesn't sound good. Is that worth cracking tonight, fella? So I've not had Garrison Brothers. I can't actually speak to it. Garrison Brothers recently actually started getting distributed in Wisconsin through Total Wine. I'm a big fan of reading other reviews. I do know Garrison Brothers hasn't gotten like a lot of respect among the bourbon community, at least those that care to review products. That said, I haven't had it. So there are products that other people don't like that I really like. But I'm sorry, I'm not. That's all the information I have. I don't have any more on Garrison Brothers, other than to tell you that their branding is really, really cool. Like, they nailed it on the branding game. I can tell you that much. Silverino Gonzalez, Drew P. I was going to drink Old Forester 100. I'm out of Evan Williams bottled in bond, but you inspired me to open my Elijah Craig barrel proof batch B520. Good. I think you're gonna have a good night now, dog. I think we're gonna call that a win for sure. All right, just remember, sorry, you guys, lots of chat, which is awesome. Thank you guys. Glad so many of you are here. Just remember to do the @DrewPWhiskey so I can see it and pick it out from all the other comments if you want me to answer a question or throw something at me. That will make it easier for my eyes to see. If you just do Drew or Drew P, it's tough for me to see. But Liberty Not Licensed. Drew, I think this is one of the second or third videos of yours I've seen. Your picks recommendations from the first video were right on. My taste exactly. I think you finished with Booker's. Yeesh. I think that was one of my most recent videos. Like the only 5 bourbons you need. Now that was according to me. So are those really the only 5 bourbons you need? Probably not. But if I had to boil it down to 5, I'd just here's the flavor spectrum that I want to hit. That was a lot of fun to shoot as well. So I'm glad that you're digging on what I'm laying down. I like whiskey. And I've tasted it enough to kind of know what I like. But so if your palate matches mine, fantastic. If it doesn't, no problem. Anthony says, Drew, have you had a chance to pick up Old Fitz 14-year bottled in bond? Is it worth more than MSRP? So MSRP on that is like $140. I have not had it. The rumor is it's pretty dang good. Is it worth more than 140? I don't know, man. The general consensus is it's fantastic, and so I'd be tempted to go above it, but I also won't drop multiple, I'm not going to go 250. I'm not going to go 300. I think the secondary value on that right now is $300. And I'm just not going to play that game. There's a lot of other really, really good whiskey out there that doesn't come in a pretty bottle. So I'm going to pass on that. But I'd probably go up to 200 if somebody held a knife to some appendage of mine. Bad Weather Freak. Y'all's handles are pretty dang. What do I think? What do you think? Elijah Craig B520. I did have B520. Most Elijah Craig batches I absolutely dig. I had one from I think I had, what do I have open? Oh, I have A118. I think I had C918 last, and I did not like that. B520 was good. C920 is phenomenal. If you guys find Elijah Craig barrel proof batch C920, get that. I mean, it's lit fam. Randy Crane, Droopy Whiskey. I'm in Tampa, and you're in Wisconsin. How are we on the same time? Well, it's because I didn't set my clock back for daylight savings time. So we're not on the same time. But uh, Lucas, have I tried Maker's Stave Picks? Yes, I have. I've had several Private Select, and then that's basically what they're doing for their limited edition releases, and I really enjoy them. I think Makers is doing an awesome job, and their products sit on the shelf, and you can get them for a reasonable price. So don't sleep on Makers, y'all. Especially if you're like hoarding Weller, or you're looking for Weller. Oh, I want to get Weller 12 or Weller 107. Great whiskeys, y'all, for sure. But go buy some Makers first and be happy with that. And then if you lock into Weller, awesome. But don't get worked up if you can't get it. Whiskey Sour, Droopy Whiskey, why do you think we have such limited access to allocated whiskey here in Texas when it's highly available in other smaller states? It actually depends on your city. If you're in a small town, I hear the distribution is pretty rough in the small towns. If you're in the larger areas, Austin, Houston, DFW Metroplex, word is that a lot of allocated whiskeys get sent to those city centers. So, I think you said you were in San Benito, and yeah. So probably not getting a lot in that area. Like in Wichita Falls, they don't get much there either. Okay, I'm coming back to this Old Forester now. I'm going to take a break from questions. Again, if you guys want to support the channel, just throw a super chat on there. I'll make sure I get to anything that comes through on a super chat for sure. But I'll also try and get as many of the tags as possible. Don't really want to. Well, anyway. We'll get to this. So, totally different nose on the Cask Strength. It's actually really rich and smells really good. Try not to get too pretentious in my tasting notes here, but the banana, there's not much banana in here. Maybe just a suggestion where I do get some vanilla, kind of creme brulee. Reminds me a little bit of Elijah Craig, actually. Because I get just a touch of roasted almonds. Smells good, bottom line. Whereas this one was very banana heavy and perfumey. I like this one a lot more. Still get some floral, actually, but not like hairspray style. Much higher quality vibes coming off of this one. All right. Bottoms up. Guys, these are so hot. It hit me with a lot of sweetness, like right up front, and then exploded in my palate. Just like, oh my gosh, it's still there. It's so hot. Woo! I mean, it's a big hitter. It's 127 proof. That's what I said. 63.5% alcohol by volume. It smells fantastic. Doesn't smell like that level of heat, but it felt like that level of heat. Wow. Here's a good story for you. Not related to Wichita Falls at all. I spent a month in China teaching English as a second language, like running an English summer camp at a college in Kunming, China. And I was eating dinner with the squad that was over there one day. We had gotten food from a place, and of course we have no idea what's in the food. And we bite into something. We're not even sure what it is, but we bite into this thing, and my mouth starts going numb. Like, it just starts tingling. It's not like spicy. It's like a drug on my face hole. And I'm like, what is happening right now? It feels like my tongue is swelling. I'm like, what did I just eat? I'm having an allergic reaction. I'm going to die in China. It's over for me. And then the person next to me is like, holy crap, like this is happening to me too. And I forget what the name of this thing, but it's actually a spice they use over there. Like some kind of numbing, they call it a numbing spice. And it makes your mouth feel basically that you got a shot of like Novocaine or something, but you can still actually feel. It's like it's numb, but then it's not numb. And after that, you get your sense of taste was actually like more highly in tune. So it's like this spice messed up your mouth real bad. You felt weird for hours afterwards, but it also like helped you taste better but different. Super weird experience. But if you ever have a chance to just maybe Google Chinese numbing spice. It's a fun experiment. It won't hurt, I guarantee you that. It's not like the one chip challenge, which I will not do. I don't care what anybody offers me. Like I think you could offer me $2,000 and I'd turn it down to do that one chip challenge or ghost pepper. I don't like pain. Not for me. Not really my jam. If you offered me $10,000, sure. Yeah. Why would I turn down $10,000 for a day of pain? Well, I might regret it after I did that. Maybe I won't do that. Tobin says, just bottle pop my Jack Daniel's single barrel proof. Have you had it? Yep. Probably the best stuff Jack Daniel's has to offer is a solid single barrel proof. Heard their new rye release, though, was also fantastic. So if you guys see the new Jack Daniel's single barrel proof rye, get it, because I heard it was phenomenal. Stu Rat, have you tried Balcones Rumble Cask Reserve? Nope, haven't had Balcones either. So even though I'm from Texas, I don't spend a lot of time there. And I haven't had a lot of craft whiskeys, actually, which we'll talk about that in a minute after we get through this Old Forester barrel strength stuff. Okay, really sweet. Brown sugar. Vanilla's coming through. The mouthfeel is spicy because of that intense heat, but I am not getting actually a lot of like cinnamon or allspice from this, which I would expect. I mentioned there was one that was more like red hots. I don't really get red hots apart from the mouthfeel. Plenty of Kentucky hug up in here. Liberty Not Licensed says too many bananas. This one's less banana-y. Very, very subtle on the bananas. Not a banana hammock. Yeah, a lot sweeter. This one does taste older. Doesn't have a lot that reminds me of a young whiskey. Guys, so when I try and do these tastings and give you notes right away, I realize how much I suck at it. Because I have to sit with these things and like ponder them and taste them a couple of times. And then I'm like, okay, yeah, that's what I'm tasting. If I like try and come up with it right away, I don't get that so much. I mentioned brown sugar. I do think it's got some honey. Like that's what's the linger on my tongue is like after you have honey, it kind of hangs out in your mouth and there's that like slight acidity to it. I get some slight acidity like in that kind of lactic lingering mouthfeel. Just put it that way. Good one. I like this one. It's actually really, really nice. I'm going to add some water to it here in just a second. Yeah, now that I've mentioned honey, I taste a lot. Like a lot of a really high quality bee honey. Which that's the only kind of honey that you can get is from a bee. So, of course, that makes sense. All right, we're going to just try and add a smidge of water to what I have left here. Just a smidge. Nose doesn't really change that much. While we let this merge for a minute, a couple more questions here. Dave says, sorry to get off topic, but are you a cigar smoker? Bourbon is great with cigars, but even better with coffee. Yeah, I mean, you guys definitely know I'm into the coffee, into that bean juice, because that's what I do. I am not much of a cigar smoker. I enjoy cigars. I have a pipe, like a high quality pipe that I also enjoy. But it's cold. I don't want to smoke outside. I don't want to smoke inside. And I mentioned this on the Bourbon Junkies show that I was on. I try and just limit my vices because I can be a little bit obsessive. When I get into something, I really get into it. I mean, obviously, like I got into bourbon and I was like, you know what? I'm going to like learn everything I can about it. So I just like learned everything I could about bourbon, rye, scotch for 5 years. Like I've had a Droopy Whiskey Instagram handle for at least, it's got to be 4 years now. And it's been awesome and a lot of fun. But this has been my one hobby besides golf. And I have thrown myself into golf over the last 2 years like crazy. And so if I get a hobby, I'm just like, I want to know everything. I want to be the best at this. Like I want to try and understand it fully and have all the things or do all the things. And so if I pick another vice that may be detrimental to my health, like whiskey is not necessarily good for me, like moderation, peeps. And cigars, same deal. Moderation, you'll be fine. But if I just add too many things, I just want to be careful. That's really it. So if you want to talk about cigars or offer me a nice cigar, yeah, no doubt that would be cool. I would appreciate that. But I'm actually not getting into cigars on purpose. A lot of the community is really into cigars, but I'm just trying to be selective. I want to take care of the fam and stuff. And I worked really hard over the last year to like get in shape because I was really badly out of shape. And so it's important to me to maintain health, like so I can, do a good job at my job, which is very demanding, and, do a good job with my family and still have energy left for me. So like with all the stuff that I want to do and do well, I just try and make sure that I've got the energy for it. So that was a long answer to your question. Whiskey Sour, Drippy Whiskey, have you tried Black Rifle coffee? Do you think the coffee market is saturated or the more the better? Well, it's kind of like whiskey. Well, let me come back to this now that it's mellowed and I'll hit your question. Good question. More floral now with a little water. I'm hit with a smell that I can't remember what it is. You guys know that sometimes you smell something and you're like, holy crap, well, what was that? It's like, it's taking me back, but I have no idea where. I have to like go into my mind palace and figure out what this just reminded me of. But I got nothing. Some kind of, it's bubblegum. But it's more like a blueberry, like a funky flavor of bubblegum, like Big League Chew. You guys know Big League Chew? Like me and my brothers, we pounded a lot of Big League Chew back in our day because we always liked to seem like we were bad and embracing vices, Like, yeah, I'm dipping snuff. Actually, it's gum. So you show up to a Little League baseball game with a wad in your lip of Big League Chew. Yeah, I'm getting Big League Chew now. Smells good. He's still there, though. Bananas actually come out a little bit more. Much sweeter, though, than the 90 proof. And it's got that deeper oak, which I like, that I think helps bring balance. So overall, squad, my verdict on this Old Forester barrel strength single barrel is it's good. And if you can find one for the 80 or so that they should be at, it's definitely worth like exploring. Try and get a sample of it, though, because I would not have bought that Woodman's Pick. I'm happy with this one. Like, I will enjoy this for dang sure. And then I was happy with my taste of the other one I have. Quite good. But I wouldn't have wanted that other one because it was just so hot. But cheers. Probably taste something else before the night's up. But I'm going to savor this for a little bit. Hit a couple more questions now. Okay, Black Rifle coffee. Have I had it? No. I'm very competitive, actually. I don't know if it's a flaw. It just is the way it is. I spend my entire life, much of my life, not my entire life, a lot of my life, trying to grow Stone Creek Coffee and, take care of the employees and make a living. And so it's hard for me to drink somebody else's coffee. Not that I can't respect it. I certainly do. And not that I wouldn't, but it's hard for me to go spend money on coffee from a competitor when I can drink our coffee. So I haven't had it. I'm familiar with Black Rifle, though. They do a really good job with their digital marketing. So it's, what they're about and what they're out to do and their work with veterans. Seems like a pretty cool company for sure. Brand's pretty solid. And they occupy a unique space, actually, in the coffee market. Because specialty coffee, high-end coffee in general, tends to play more like liberal political affiliation, where Black Rifle tends to take more of a conservative stance. No judgment here from me on either one, but it's just a contrast from Black Rifle to others in the coffee scene. The question, do I think the coffee market is saturated? Depends on how you define saturated. There are over 7,000, or were pre-COVID, over 7,000 small coffee roasters in the United States. They're everywhere. And that's a lot. So Does that mean that there's too many coffee roasters? No, because a lot of their business takes place on street corners, people on their way to work. Is the e-commerce marketplace saturated? Well, there's 7,000 small coffee roasters that have been crushed by COVID that are now trying to sell their stuff online. Can all of them survive by selling their stuff online? Probably not. So yeah, it's probably oversaturated. But I hope not. It was really cool to get into coffee for a while, but it's really, really hard to make money in coffee. Like, it's really, really hard to make money in coffee. The margins are fine-ish, but you gotta sell. Let me know, guys, if I'm cutting out, because I just saw myself freeze on the YouTube feed, so let me know. But yeah, just give me at me and comment if I'm getting staticky in here, and I'll text my family to please stop streaming things. I'm actually going to close some of the things I've opened my phone. Anyway, don't remember what I was saying. We'll move on. But if you have a clarifying question about coffee, don't hesitate. Liberty Not Licensed says, coffee is life, not a hobby then? Coffee is both. I mean, coffee is a passion. Like, it's kind of both. I love it. I enjoy it. I want to spend time figuring it out, and I want to be the best I can at that. But it's also a job, and so there's a difference between job and there's totally a difference between job and passion for sure. Lone Wanderer says some lag in the video, but audio is good, so no worries. Well, that bites, but let me send a quick text. So my sister's living with us, and my wife's here, so I'm just going to ask him to stop streaming. Sorry, squad. I mean, they're both amazing people, so I feel bad asking them to stop. I'm making a whiskey video. Can you stop doing whatever thing you're enjoying on this New Year's Eve? That's pretty selfish, but yeah, I don't want to screw you guys up here. So, all right, so yeah, coffee is life, not a hobby then. It's both. It totally is both. It's passion for sure, and I think that's the important thing. Is like I don't really want to segment between hobbies and work. Like, I think if you can bring them together and let sort of passion rule the day, that's definitely a win. Andrew Swallows, I'm the same way with hobbies. YouTubers make me want to try cigars, but avoiding them as well. Yeah, you gotta draw lines. Boundaries are important. Like, boundaries are important to protect you from other people. They're also important to protect you from yourself. As human beings, we're not always great about moderation. It's easy to say everything in moderation. Cheers, yeah, let's have it. Oh, now I'm gonna drink from the bottle. Like, you gotta be careful. Stu Rat was talking about, I think, Big League Chew. Yep, and the beef jerky snuff tin. Yeah, that was awesome. So marketing geniuses selling kids on gateway things like Big League Chew and beef jerky snuff tins. But oh man, good stuff. Trev Wilson's in the house. Trev, thanks for joining. The Wrench. So Trev just got to 1,000 subscribers. Congrats, Trev, on that. So Trev, initially, I got into the whiskey tubes, and I didn't know who you are, but now that I had my initial snafu and didn't know who you were, I see you everywhere, literally everywhere. Like, it's remarkable how many whiskey streams you are on and wrenching it up. So, total hero. All right. So I probably missed some questions. Don't hesitate to drop them back in there. Let's talk some topics now as we sip this. I feel like I got a lot to say tonight. We're an hour in and I haven't even hit any of my supplementary topics. Let's go to the first one. And that was that these distilleries I mentioned at the start, these craft distilleries, seem to be getting hit with a $14,000 random fee from the FDA for producing hand sanitizer during the COVID pandemic when nobody could get hand sanitizer. Like, oh my gosh, like what the heck is going on? Like, really? There are these companies out here like trying to do good with what they have and trying to make it, and then surprise, FDA says it's actually a $14,000 fee for doing that. Thanks, but no thanks. Also, by the way, if you don't want to get hit with that fee for next year, you need to unregister as whatever kind of producer you had to become to do the production within the next 2 days, or we're going to hit you with $14,000 fee for next year. And obviously, most of these distilleries didn't make $14,000 worth of hand sanitizer. So it's just a total crap show. It looked really, really bad. And so it sparked up in the news very, very quickly. And so I was going to say, hey, we should talk about it on here. So that it was happening. But it seems like, so the Health and Human Services Department did tell the FDA to knock it off. Like, stop what you're doing. Do not do this. Like, do not issue these fees. So it seems like the legislation is going to get worked out that distilleries will not get hit with these fees, but that's all in the works currently. The federal government, as I mentioned at the start, sometimes struggles to make sense and do things that are wise. I'm not a politician. I do not want to be a politician. I don't really want to get partisan here, and I won't. But it would just be a terrible thing if these small craft distilleries got nailed with a $14,000 fee when a lot of them really can't afford to onboard that fee right now. I mean, COVID's hit them hard, not in retail sales, but a lot of these small distilleries don't have a wide distribution. They make their money based off tasting room. Like, tasting room sales and tours are a pretty lucrative part of the craft distillery industry. And with COVID, they haven't been able to do that. So, $14,000 drop on these peeps is a pretty big knock. So, as I mentioned, it looks like it'll all get worked out. Like, that's the way that things are headed, is Health and Human Services tells FDA, you guys are stupid, stop it. And it should follow that. But regardless, I've been thinking about my own whiskey exposure. And by and large, I haven't had a ton of craft whiskeys that I like. But I'm seeing more and more people say, listen, this small distillery is crushing it. So particularly, I'm hearing stuff about Starlight. I'm hearing stuff about Chattanooga. I'm hearing stuff about Spirits of St. Lick, I think is what it's called. So these distilleries, of course, I love New Riff. There's another one, Finger Lakes Distilling in New York. St. Augustine in Florida. So a lot of these places that seem to be doing some really rad stuff, I just haven't been exposed to it. So going into 2021, one of my big goals is like to actually learn the craft whiskey industry really, really well. So I have an audacious goal, and I'm actually probably going to need your help with it, is I would like to try 100 craft whiskeys over the course of 2021. 100. I think it'll be pretty easy to do 50. I think it's going to be really, really tough to do 100. It doesn't mean 100 different distilleries. It means 100 different whiskeys. So it could be different single barrels from single distillery or different whiskey releases. And so, yeah, suggestions you guys have would be great. But I also can't buy 100 bottles. So samples are also much needed. Not begging, but if you guys want to send me samples, I want to chronicle this journey both on these YouTube live streams and on Instagram. So, and I challenge you to kind of do it as well. And, I'm definitely open for trading samples. I think we should really try and see what else is out there in the whiskey industry besides the major producers. You look on the shelf behind me and it's almost exclusively the major producers because they do a great job. I mean, their whiskey is phenomenal. Like, don't get me wrong. And it's highly collectible. So it's fun to have on the shelf, fun to taste, fun to talk about. But the more whiskey that's out there, more good whiskey, means it's easier for us to find good whiskey. So as these new distilleries pop up, let's find what's awesome and let's invest in that. So when I'm thinking about this crisis of these $14,000 hits on these small distilleries. Like, how do we help? Well, we buy their whiskey, but I don't know which ones to buy. I mean, I know a few that are good, but I want to know more because there's a lot of good stuff happening right now in small distilleries. So my goal is to learn about it. That's a 2021 goal. Taste 100 different craft whiskeys in 2021. Boom. Stu Rat, man, so hard to read. Says Still Austin is killing it. So that's a Texas distillery in Austin. I've heard fantastic things about Still Austin. I have not tried it yet, but I look forward to that. Will says, I got you on Chattanooga stuff. Send me your address. I actually just tasted, maybe it was last week's live stream. It was an Instagram live stream. I've got a sample of Chattanooga cask strength. I don't want to pull my headphones out. Yes, 111. Really interesting. So apparently this is only age stated at 2 years. Very Scotch-like. I know high malt content in this whiskey. Let's pour it right now. As long as we're talking about craft whiskeys, let's try this. So very, very malt heavy for me on my initial taste. Andrew says, that's a lofty goal, 100. Hey, man, you got to set goals to meet goals, and I thought 50, but I'm like, no, I can definitely do 50. That's why I said 100. And I thought it'd be fun to chronicle 100 craft whiskeys. I'll get a tattoo with all 100 names on it. Put it on my back. Or like put it on a scroll down my left thigh. It's a little crazy. All right. So Chattanooga 111. Really solid nose. It does smell like bourbon and scotch. Had a baby. I'm getting slight medicinal, almost like, what was it? So my brother, he had asthma and he would have to go like have this bizarre white medication that I forget. It smells like that. Sorry guys. These are really not very accessible tasting notes or nosing notes. I mean, I enjoy this. If I'm critically assessing it, like, is it a great whiskey? A lot of promise. Like, the sweet maltiness is really, really nice. Like, I enjoy that. The finish is short and medicinal. And so is it like, oh, this is really good? No, but at the same time, I really like it. So there's a distinction I would kind of make. Is that, would you really like it? Only if you like a really malty whiskey. But to me, it's really interesting. And I'm going to count this as craft whiskey number 1 for 2021 because it's only 3 hours until midnight. So starting with Chattanooga 111, you guys saw it first. Pretty solid stuff. Now I've got 3 whiskeys here that none of them are finished. All right. Amy says, lofty goal, but you have friends here who can hook you up. Sweet. You guys rock. Bryant says, got my first bottle of Chattanooga 101 recently. It's good and an interesting malt ride. Yes, like it's definitely malt heavy for sure. Randy says he lives in Tampa, some stuff down in that neck of the woods. Dylan says, well, that's good because I will be starting a craft distillery this year, hopefully. Where you at, Dylan? Where you're starting your deal? Interesting time to get into whiskey for sure. It's like coffee when everybody got into coffee roasting. And then there were 7,000 coffee roasters. Distilling is so huge, but I think the more the merrier if you can do a great job. But I think what we'll see is more and more the markets are going to get like regional. Because right now everybody wants to be national, and they're competing against the big dogs. You know, all these whiskeys behind me, and that's tough. But you can win in your neighborhood. So like as you start out, Seth Godin, a marketing guru who I really like, he talks about targeting the smallest viable market. And that is like building your business for a group of people you know you can deliver on and they can support you. And then like just feed that group of people. And if it's a really, really good product, it will spread because they will love what you do and you're great at doing it. I kind of thought about that as I created this channel is like, this is not for everybody. It's definitely a different kind of whiskey tube channel. But it's what I wanted to do. It's honest and, you know, it talks a lot about like the brands and the business and it's deeply personal. But But that's what I wanted to do, and this is a hobby. What I wanted to spend some time doing, and so I'm like, I bet there's some people out there who are down for that, who really want to build relationships over this thing, and so it may not be a huge group, but I bet it's enough to just have a good time. And so far, it's been awesome. So you guys rock. All right. Austin says, have you had Wellershine bottled in bond from Wisconsin? I have not. I'm not yet, but I should definitely start in Wisconsin. I've had J. Henry stuff. I've had Great Lakes stuff. I've had Central Standard stuff. Dancing Goat stuff. So there's a lot of distilleries in Wisconsin right now. Heck of a goal, 100. Yes, very big goal. Will says they're rye. I assume you're talking about Chattanooga. Is interesting in a good way. Yep. I bet it is. I bet it's high malt too. Will says Chattanooga's master distiller is a beer guy. He came from Boston Beer. Their mash bills are high malt because he built mash bills like beer. Don't know if that's good or bad. I'd say it is what it is. I mean, all mash bills are basically beer, but I suppose you would do it differently if you came from a craft brewing, like craft beer kind of background versus a straight whiskey background. All right. So that's overview of this weird $14,000 fee that the FDA wanted to hit peeps with. Again, hopefully it doesn't go through. But ultimately, it works itself out in my 2021 goal of trying 100 different craft distilleries, or not distilleries, craft whiskeys in 2021. I've got one down. So yes, one every 3 or 4 days. I think I can do it. That's going to take some wheeling and dealing. I'll probably buy a fifth of those, and I'll probably try and connect with a lot of peeps and do a lot of trading to score the other 80. The more I talk about it, the more lofty it sounds, but dang it, I'm going to try. All right, what else do I got here? I think I got one other topic. Yeah, so there's two things. One is, got a Kentucky trip coming up. I think I'm going to save that, and we'll talk a little bit more about it next week. Gonna announce a lot of fun stuff related to that trip, but I just want to talk about like spots to hit in Kentucky. I think that's a fun conversation topic to kind of kick around and get some of your feedback on it too. So I've outlined some places I really want to try and hit. I'm going down there by myself, and I'll connect with a couple people, but I've got a lot of time to just run around. So definitely gonna do that. We'll talk more about that next time. Tonight, though, I just wanted to do some 2020 review into 2021. Take a break. Do some breathing first. If you guys want to send samples, again, I'm sorry, I don't mean this to be like a begging. I'm not begging for you guys to send samples. But some of you have said, hey, send me your address and I'll send you some samples. Here's the address you can send samples to. I'm posting it right now. Drew Pond, 422 North 5th Street, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 53203. So you guys are pretty rad, very, very generous. So thank you for all of you who've said, hey, we'll help. That's amazing. We may do 100 in the first 30 days, which would drink myself under the table a little bit. But let's talk about 2020 and 2021. I would love to see you all... Sorry, I'm just reading a comment. I like to taste whiskey. Late to the party, did I miss Drew drinking Elijah Craig? My kind of guy. I pretty much drink Elijah Craig almost every day, but I did not today. All right, so 2020 to 2021. I would love to see you all drop your favorite whiskey from 2020. I did not plan on making a Drew's top whiskeys of 2020 because everybody else is doing that, and there's enough, like, you know, that's a good way to get YouTube hits with no judgment, because my 5 whiskeys you have to have is a good video to get YouTube hits with. But I don't want to really be white noise right now, and I'll do it probably at the end of 2021 after going through a lot of these craft distilleries and trying to take better notes about what I had throughout the year. I just don't have good notes from that. I just drank for pleasure most of this year. I didn't start my channel until October, I think. So drop what you had this year that you absolutely loved. Just going from memory, I'd have to say the whiskey that blew me blew me away the most was actually just a few weeks ago. My buddy Ricky came over. He had an OESQ 4 Roses single barrel pick from Milwaukee liquor store, and dang, it was redonk. Super, super good. Not a limited release, but it was pretty limited because it was just that one barrel. And really, really enjoyed that. Of course, Elijah Craig C920, super good. I mean, I put so many bottles away. It's hard for me to remember. Because I didn't take notes. I'm just looking behind me. Anyway, in terms of memories, though, like I just think about over the course of this year, like some of the stuff that I went through and some of the stuff I was able to do, and there's certainly some good memories. Tobin says top whiskey was Baker's 13. Nice. I would love to try Baker's 13. Heard great things, but was not able to score a bottle. Mike said Midsummer's Night Dram. Cheers and bye-bye 2020. Mike, cheers to you, man. Thank you for that super chat. I appreciate the support for that. Austin says, best I had was Jack Daniel's single barrel proof rye. Awesome. That's super new. I'm glad you got to try it. Total eye opener from Jack Barrel Proof. Yeah, I've heard that the Jack Barrel Proof rye is unbelievable. So again, if any of you have a chance to grab it based on what I'm hearing. All right, so we go into 2020, and it's like, man, this is going to be great. Election happening, so that's going to be weird. Like, that's going to bring a lot of conflict. And then COVID happens, and it just turns the whole world upside down. And it's been insanely tough. Like, it's insanely tough for, many of us. Like, I'm sure some of you on the chat, there's 100 people watching, lost your job. And I'm so sorry. Like, that's terrible. Like, just an absolute, wretched thing to go through because of a global pandemic. And a lot of us have dealt with uncertainty. Maybe we got sick. Maybe we lost loved ones. It's just like a crappy situation for a year. But, as much as we want to give the finger to 2020, and justifiably so, and just be like, screw this, let's go on to the next one. Let's also remember, this was a year that we got to live. We were alive for this year, and we're going to carry lessons through it. So, I think about for Stone Creek Coffee, for my job, when we shut down, and then the next day after the shutdown, which was really busy, I woke up and I was sitting on my couch, and I was just like, what do I do? What are we going to do? And thankfully, we've got a really amazing crew at Stone Creek, and then I report directly to our founder, who's an amazing leader, and it was just a dramatic learning experience for me to go from the business, we just lost it. We just shut it down. It's just over right now. And two, okay, it's not over. What do we do? This is a challenge to try and figure out how to operate in a world that's completely different from anything that we would have expected. And was that fun? Absolutely not. It was a total crap show. But what I learned, through it, a lot of the skills that I learned, and then some of the things I've decided to do to change and implement in my life have been dramatically helpful. My life will be better and be much, much more productive. And I think I will be a much better person, connector of people and with people, and a lover of people, because of what I went through this year related to COVID. So how's that tie into whiskey? Well, as I was going through this year, a big priority for me was I want to do things in life that I really, really love. I want to work and have hobbies with things that truly give me joy, because I realize that while we have a decent amount of time on this earth, we think about each day, and it's oh, this is a decent amount of time to spend, and I end up wasting a lot of it. It's still not that much time. So whenever I do spend my time, I want to make sure that it's used in a way that's really redemptive, or in a way that brings me a lot of joy. And one of the things I wanted to do for a long time, as long as I can remember, even being a little kid, is I wanted to make videos. I wanted to make things that people could enjoy for a prolonged period of time. And then I loved whiskey, and I said, you know what, I want to do this. I'm going to create whiskey videos. And just did it, and the response has been awesome, and I'm really appreciative of it. But I also, look forward to, taking everything I learned this year about growing a digital business in coffee and digital marketing and, creating really, really cool, unique experiences in whiskey in a digital platform. Like that's sort of my goal going into 2021. So I've definitely got an agenda when I go down to Kentucky is to try and, create some rad content for you guys, but I'm also setting some stuff up for the future. So I'm trying to take everything from 2020, which sucked, but it presented a lot of lessons, and use that to create both a better life and then hopefully a better future overall. There's kind of two lessons that I would boil this whole year down to is that you should do you. And by do you, I mean do what's going to bring you joy. We live in a country where by and large, not always, but by and large, we can find a job that we enjoy, that we just take a lot of pleasure in doing. And you should try and find that. That's generally a good thing. But then not only do that, but I think we have an obligation to the people around us. I think we have an obligation to the world to do well and try and spread joy, create joy for others. And so those are the two lessons. Do you and do good. And I think that I'll look back on 2020 actually with fondness, as difficult as it was, because of the things that it helped sort of ingrain in my mind and help me focus on what I want to be in the future. All right, preaching over. Dave says, I've watched all your videos. Your content's fantastic. Those are very kind words. Leaving for the festivities with my family. Good. If you guys got family doing stuff, that's awesome. Happy New Year and everyone on the stream. Cheers from Boston. Cheers to you, man. Thanks for tuning in. Liberty says, my favorite from 2020 is the same as every other year, Booker's. Booker's is always good. Like it hits a spot. If you like Booker's, hard to argue with that. Do also really like the McKenna Bottled in Bond, though that was new to me. Had a couple of excellent drinking nights in Cedarburg. Are you local, Liberty? Did not know that. Larceny Barrel Proof for the price. Great grab. Yeah, Larceny Barrel Proof B520 is the one I tried of that. Really, really nice. Lone Wanderer says, I feel lucky I was able to keep working. I feel bad for our service industry, bars and restaurants that lost all of it. Yeah. Yeah. It's tough for restaurants, coffee shops, no doubt. Not a lot I can say about that. Bryant says, best of 2020 thanks to a friend's connection. E.H. Taylor single barrel store pick. Nice. Yeah. E.H. Taylor single barrel is really, the ones I've had are great. I've never had a store pick of it, but I can just imagine, even more curated E.H. Taylor single barrel. It's really, really rad. Liberty said, lost my aunt in Michigan in April to COVID. Lost my father in Illinois in August too. Oh, dang, man. Nearly lost my brother and was sick myself. Yeah. Sorry, man. That's rough. Do you do good? Drink whiskey. Drink good whiskey. Perfect. Maybe I'll make a shirt, Amy, that says... Liberty says, you're pretty smart for being such a young man. Maybe I'm older than I look. Old soul. I will tell you guys, it's New Year's Eve, and this channel is my channel. It has zero affiliation with anybody else. So that is due to a couple things, maybe. One is my parents, raising me to think and to be mindful of others, which I was not mindful of others for a long time, and I still struggle to be, honestly. The other one is that, my spiritual persuasion is I'm a Christian, and I think that God created us to not live in isolation. We're created to live in community and created to show sacrificial love to other people. So that's the mission. That's the goal, is to show the love of Jesus to other people. And again, I suck at it a lot. I don't want to preach to you guys right now. This is a whiskey channel. At the same time, authentically, that's the mission. And one of the beautiful things about Christianity is Christ makes up for our insufficiency. He is our sufficiency for us. because we are very insufficient human beings. And so, you know, so even though we're deficient, it doesn't mean we shouldn't try then to live the life we're called to live. So that's the other part of the rhetoric that is coming out of my mouth, is it's a Christianity, hopefully, being spoken. Randy says, here's to better 2021. Have made some changes just like you, so 2020 worked out. Yeah, I mean, I'm thankful to have been able to come through it, as we saw. Not everybody has, and that sucks. All right. So that's that. I'll move on from that. But I look forward to 2021 as anybody else does. But I'll also look back on 2020 with mixed emotions. Let's say mixed emotions. All right. A couple reminders, squad. I've got these whiskeys. I was going to do a bottle kill, but I'll save that too for early 2021. Keep my years straight. You know, I've tried these Old Foresters and really, really great. Had a little pour of the Chattanooga, also super interesting. I was going to bottle kill this because I opened it up about a year and 3 months ago. So this is one of the old Scout single barrel cask strengths. And it's really fantastic. I have a decent amount of it left. I thought about bottle killing it. I'm not going to, just for the sake of keeping it together tonight. I feel like that's important. Eric says, wow, Christian talk on a whiskey channel. Who would have thought? You got to sub. Yeah, I don't know. Like, we all have our stuff. And again, this is a whiskey channel, so I'm not, every time we come on a live stream, I'm not going to be like, oh, and by the way, I'm a Christian. At the same time, it's a really important part of my identity. It's the most important part of my identity. So, and this is my thing, so I can talk about whatever I want. So I don't want to be offensive or anything. All right. So wrapping up for tonight. Any other questions? Any other things you guys want to... Oh, I will go ahead and throw this out sort of in prep because we got a few minutes left here. As I get ready for that Kentucky trip, those of you who've been down there, you know, my plan is to stop at some liquor stores and some distilleries, but where would you recommend I stop? What should be on the hunting list? And what kind of content would you guys want to see? Like, what would be interesting? So somebody's going to Kentucky. What are you curious about that you would like to share through the channel? Rich says, I'm glad Burb Junkie suggested this since we are close to each other. Much luck going forward. Anyone with an idea on Jack Daniel's Sinatra bottle? Hey, let's try and help Rich out with the answer to that. I've not had the Jack Sinatra. Really beautiful looking bottle though, for sure. But I have not had it. I'm just sniffing this Old Forester cask strength. And man, it smells good. Like, the more it sits here, the more I'm liking it. Amy says, which is very, very nice. I need to show this. Amy says, be sure to clicky the like button and hit subscribe. Thanks, Amy. Yeah, I mean, if you guys haven't already, hit that like button and subscribe. I appreciate it. Just helps share the videos. So what I say at the end of all my videos is, if you like the video, like the video. Like, if you guys watch my stuff, you should watch it because you like it, not because you like just want to support it. That's very nice of you and kind of you, but I only want you to watch my videos so long as you think I'm doing like a good job, good videos. So yeah, like it if you truly like the video. Subscribe if you want to watch more. Don't feel obligated by any stretch. Eric, I mentioned my favorite bottle earlier was I'm pretty sure is a Four Roses single barrel OESQ 9-year pick from Ray's here in Wauwatosa, Wisconsin. Phenomenal. So good. So good. All right. Any suggestions for that Kentucky trip? No problem, dog. So sorry I'm late to the party. No problem at all. You'll just have to rewatch. I'm just wrapping it up right now. But you guys can also slide into my Instagram DMs. I try and drop a lot of like live tastings on Instagram. So I definitely recommend you follow me on Instagram because you'll get a little bit more content that way. And yeah, that's what. Oh yeah, so slide into my DMs and hit me up with any recommendations you have for Kentucky stops or any like recommendations for content to generate through while I'm in Kentucky. Uh, and then finally, if you have any other show ideas, like in the future here, I do plan to do kind of a what's the deal with Four Roses. For whatever reason, it doesn't seem like Four Roses gets very much airtime within the bourbon geek sphere. I mean, outside of that Al Young bottle, the Four Roses is not nearly so lauded as the Beams and the Buffalo Traces and the Heaven Hills, and it just baffles my mind because I'm such a Four Roses fanboy. I love that stuff. So want to do a Four Roses vid here coming up. And then I also want to do some more like whiskey history / what's going on with like single barrels. Let's do a video to talk about single barrels. Like how did that become a thing? Like why does it matter? Similar to that bottled and bond stuff. But if there's something you'd like to see me do a video on, definitely hit me with a recommendation because, again, I want to take feedback and hear from y'all and make videos you like. So I'll read some of the chat here. Matt says he had a sample of Jack Daniel's Sinatra at a tasting, really enjoyed it. He says if you're a Jack single barrel fan, you'll definitely enjoy it, but he thinks it's far too expensive. John says, I see the shirts went out today. Happy New Year. Yes, I did. Just as a reminder, if you want to support the channel, you can throw any parting super chats on the thread there. That's awesome. Or you can buy one of the Keep It Neat shirts. So I sent the first shipment. There had been 25 orders so far. I sent those out today. So should get them in the very near future if you have already ordered. But you can also click the link in the video description below and order one if you would like. I've got the pre-order price still on there. I'm gonna raise the price slightly, but I'll leave it for the next couple days as is if any of you want to jump on and grab one. Eric says, you're in Wisconsin? Same here. Rad, Eric. There's a lot of Erics in Wisconsin. I don't know why that is. Nordic influence maybe, but yeah, I'm in Milwaukee. Lone Wanderer says, stop by Bardstown. People say their tour and bar restaurants are really cool. Sweet. Yeah, I've been to Bardstown once, like right after they opened. Their food was incredible, for sure. Their whiskey selection, unbelievable, but I was not able to go on a tour. Carlos says, Droopy Whiskey. Opened up the Dickel Bottled and Bond and am enjoying it. Don't understand the hate in the whiskey tube community about Dickel Bottled and Bond. I don't either. I really like it. I actually just saw, for those of you in Milwaukee, Timers and Racine just got a couple cases. So if you want to try the Dickel Bottled and Bond, so 11-year-old Bottled and Bond whiskey out of Tennessee, go get it. It's at Timers right now. Liberty Not Licensed, dropping a couple Bible verses. Can't help with any ideas tonight, but can wish you all his best tonight and throughout the new year. Hey, cheers. Appreciate it, Liberty. Thanks a lot. All right, squad. It was fun tonight. I appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you had fun. I'm definitely looking forward, as I said, to 2021, the upcoming Kentucky trip in January, the birth of my baby girl in March. It's gonna be a legit year for sure, and I also think it's gonna be a little bit like Mardi Gras, like as we get vaccinated and sort of get back in the world, like we're all just ready to be together, and that sounds great. It sounds truly wonderful. So I look forward to seeing some of you hopefully around. Post this COVID madness, if you're in Milwaukee, hit me up. We will connect. We'll share coffee, share bourbon. It'll be good times. In the meantime, we'll just keep chatting it up on Instagram. I have a lot of people reaching out, asking questions, asking for recommendations on Instagram. I try my level best to answer everything in a timely fashion. So don't hesitate at all to reach out to me on Instagram. That's really the best way to get a hold of me in the short term. So yeah, appreciate that. I'll hit a couple of these remarks and then I'm going to sign it off. I Lay to Taste Whiskey says, Droopy Whiskey, on your way to Kentucky, check out Starlight in Starlight, Indiana, just west of Louisville. Pot still bourbon is amazing. Yeah, I do plan to check out New Riff and if Starlight. I didn't know exactly where they were, so I may stop by there as well. I think I may get to try some of that before I go, actually. So we'll see. Eric says he's in Port Washington. Love Port Washington. Such a nice little area. Port and Grafton. It's awesome. Sweet. All right, y'all. Hope you have a happy new year. It's been real. It's been lit. This Old Forester cast strength single barrel is nice. Sip a little bit more of it here as I go up and hang out with my wife a little bit and ring in a brand new year. So savor the day. Just be thankful for what you got, because we may not have it very long, but we have today. And so pour one, a good one, and remember to keep it neat. Cheers, guys.